Hey bestsellers, welcome back. Today we're going to be comparing self-publishing to traditional publishing. If you know me, you know that I am a self-publishing advocate, and my company Bestseller List Pro provides training and resources and community building for indie authors. However, there are times when traditional publishing is definitely the better option, and we're going to cover when that is. I'll be comparing self-publishing to traditional publishing using 6 categories today. So we're going to be talking about cost, rights, royalties, creative control, timeline, and brick and mortar distribution. It will be a rapid overview, and we can dive deeper into these various topics in future videos. So the first category is cost. If you are a self-published author, you are going to pay all of the costs to produce your book. So all the expenses are on you, and this will include editing, design, marketing, and a lot of other kind of hidden costs, software, subscriptions, etc. It's going to range from $1,000 to $20,000 plus. You'll need to invest that in your business and your career, but any business you will need to make an investment in. You can go considerably lower than $1,000, but I don't think you're going to produce a high quality book unless you get a good editor and a good designer. And I urge you to create high quality books to elevate the entire self-publishing path. On the side of traditional publishing, your publisher will pay a good deal of your expenses and your costs. It used to be they pay 100%, and that was 20 or 30 years ago. These days, especially if you are with a mid-sized publisher or a small publisher, you will be expected to cover quite a bit of your own costs, especially in the areas of marketing and publicity. The other thing you need to do is you need to hire an editor for your querying submission. So you're not going to be able to get a deal or an agent very easily with a rough manuscript. It does need to be reasonably flawless in terms of editing and proofreading. Next is royalties. As a self-published author, you can expect to earn 40 to 80% royalties on your book, and this is through major online booksellers like Amazon and Ingram Spark and aggregates like Smashwords. The range is great, I understand that, and that has to do with lots of factors. So Kindle royalties are higher than paperback. On Ingram, you can actually adjust your royalties depending on how desirable you want to make your book to bookstores. So there are a lot of factors, but the royalties are, essentially you're keeping all of the profits, and the royalties are very high. This will allow you to create a full-time career from your writing, especially if you add revenue streams like potentially courses or coaching or other related products. This is definitely a career that you can earn 6 figures from or more, so you have control over that. On the side of traditional publishing, you can expect to earn 6 to 18%. So a portion goes to your agent, a portion goes to the publishing house. The timeline, which we'll cover, is long, so you can't produce books as frequently as a self-published author. And what this creates for the majority of authors, almost all of them, is a passive income, but not a full-time income. Unless you're a superstar, you're not going to be getting the millions and buying the Rolls Royce and the mansion and the bling. Basically, it will be a partial income and a passive income, which can be very desirable if you don't want to invest the time and the money into your career. Next up is rights. So as a self-published author, you retain all of the rights to your work. No one owns any portion of your work. In the traditional world, you renounce essentially your rights. Your work is owned by another entity. You retain something called first rights, which means that they can't change the name of the author and say someone else wrote your book, and then it protects you in certain ways. But in most cases, it depends on your contract, but in most cases, you are essentially selling your book to the publisher. Next up is creative control. So this is probably the main reason why self-publishing is definitely my first choice. And this is You have control over the content of your book, the design of your book, the marketing, the publicity, everything is within your control. And that is really important to me. If you are with a traditional publisher, they essentially can say, demand a rewrite, or they can, change the title. They can choose, how it's marketed. Really, they might ask your opinion. However, your decisions about your creative work is not much of a factor. You essentially renounce your rights other than what's called first rights. And first rights means that they can't say another author wrote it, or, it is Random House wrote the book. You are the creator of the intellectual property, and you always will be. Timeline. So with self-publishers, you have complete control of the timeline. If you wanted to take your final draft and publish it within a couple of weeks, you could probably accomplish that. Now, I don't think the book would be of very high quality if you did that, and you wouldn't have built audience or buzz in terms of your release, but that is up to you. In all of these cases with self-publishing, you can make good decisions and bad decisions, and that's ultimately up to you. In the traditional world, it's going to take 2 to 3 years before your book will see the light of day. And that is on top of the querying process, which can take years and years. I know a lot of authors that are set on traditional publishing, and they have been working on getting a deal for decades. So that really can be a problem. If you do get the contract, then it's still going to be probably 2 years before release, and it's possible that your book will be shelved because the market changes and the publisher doesn't deem it to be a good time for the book, and they'll wait. So depending on your contract, it can take many, many years for your book to be available to the public. Last is brick and mortar, and that is definitely won by the traditional side. Self-publishers have a very hard time getting into brick and mortar bookstores. The reason is because we don't have the sales team or the distribution contracts that traditional publishers have. Unless you're going to be pitching your book from bookstore to bookstore, at this point, it's difficult for us to get into brick and mortar stores. However, I do see that changing. I see sales collectives and independent authors banding together to be able to have that power like traditional publishers do. So on the traditional side, as you can see, they have pre-existing contracts, they have sales forces, they have distribution all over the world. So they definitely win in that regard. So if brick and mortar is incredibly important to you, then traditional is your better choice. Okay, so that is an overview of the main categories of why you might choose one or the other. I have chosen self-publishing, and I think self-publishing is a first choice. However, I'm very entrepreneurial. I want to invest all of my time and energy into publishing and writing and creating books and supporting authors and being in community with authors. So that really factors into it. So the choice is yours. If you have any questions, or if you want to tell us if you have chosen traditional or self-publishing, please comment below. Make sure to like this video, hit subscribe, share it. If you're interested in topics like these, then I would love for you to get the word out. We're building the bestseller list community, and the more the merrier. So make sure to subscribe or follow us on bestsellerlistpro.com. I'll put that link in the description below. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.